𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗿𝗺 and I used to go to Bernie Sanders rallies. We found that the same people that were going to Donald Trump rallies were going to Bernie Sanders rallies. So this is a grievance. There's a group of people that were once economically aspirational in the country that now feel economically desperational.
Corporations got super smart and they figured out, hey, we need good cop, bad cop, both in politics and in media. And as I write in the book, the good cop is if you're so inclined, the way that mainstream media paints it, Democrats are the good cops, Republicans are the bad cops, MSNBC is the good cops, and Fox News is the bad cops. But in reality, they're all on the same team. And that's why we live under corporate rule. But Anthony, most importantly, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, conservative, or liberal, you have got the correct answer is balance. We have to have a society, a government, and an economy that is balanced. If you get out of whack, you get out of balance, then you go back to exactly what you were describing. People grabbing pitchforks. And by the way, so they say riots are the voice of the unheard, right? There's a famous Martin Luther King comment. But in 2020, we had riots on the left side, right? Because of George Floyd, etc. And then we had riots from the right-wing side on January 6th in 2021, right? So both are the voices of the unheard. I know no other person on the left will ever say that about January 6th, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality is both sides are super frustrated and ready to grab their pitchforks and do serious damage because no one in power will listen to them.
It's interesting. 𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗿𝗺 and I used to go to Bernie Sanders rallies. We found that the same people that were going to Donald Trump rallies were going to Bernie Sanders rallies. So this is a grievance. There's a group of people that were once economically aspirational in the country, Cenk, that now feel economically desperational. I want to test something else on you and then get into more specifics of the book. I think Citizens United is the 𝗕cie versus Ferguson of our time. And I just want to explain that to everybody quickly. What was 𝗕cie versus Ferguson? The court ruled you could have separate but equal systems for black and white people. It led to widespread segregation, and it led to a calamity for the African Americans in terms of the ability to integrate into the economy, into the culture. 80 years later, Brown versus Board of Education repealed that, and we started integrating the schools. 𝗕cie and Citizens are identical to me. We've created a separate but equal democracy. So someone like Sheldon Adelson, no problem. Here's $100 billion under the auspices, or $100 million under the auspices of free speech. But he's now got more power in the democracy than his one vote. And I guess what I'm asking you, do you believe that? Because since Citizens United, if you look at corporate welfare and you look at crony capitalism, it is absolutely through the roof. The politicians are bought and paid for. Big Food is putting dog shit into our food. Big Pharma is allowed to lie about all kinds of stuff because they're lighting up the Congress. Am I wrong about this or right about this?
Generally right. So, look, 𝗕cie v. Ferguson was one of the worst decisions in Supreme Court history, obviously, and that's why you're referencing it.
No question.
And I just want to give the caveat, of course, that the suffering of black people in this country is unparalleled, right? So now and as much as we suffer under corporate rule, we're not in chains and they don't take our kids away and sell them, right? Now, having said that, you're not wrong that it created a two-tier system, and one tier, which is a tiny, tiny tier, the top, not even 1%, it's really the top 0.1%. They give the most political donations and get the most favors. Those guys rule us all. They have primaries before we have primaries, and they give us our options. And they say, here's the two senators you can choose from. Yes, I paid both of them. Ha ha. Go ahead and have your democracy, right? Mm-hmm. And the rest of us, look, there's a super depressing study in the middle of the book. I mean, I give tons of hope at the end, right? Because I think we can turn it around. But in the middle of the book, this study of Princeton and Northwestern, they studied about 20 years of policy, and they concluded that the bottom 90% of Americans have literally zero effect on American government policy. Well, that's not a democracy. That's a two-tier system where we're all basically working as chattel for corporations. And And Byron White warned about this too. He said corporations are something that we created, and the government need not permit its own creation to consume it, is what he said. And that's what happened. Corporations consumed us. And by the way, this isn't capitalism. This is corporatism. And corporatism destroys capitalism. It hates free markets. It loves monopolies. And that's exactly what's happening right now.
And it creates cronyism, and a result of which it reduces the competition. You know, to start my firm SkyBridge today, it would nearly be impossible, Cenk. The first 9 employees would have to be lawyers and compliance people, and so they've killed the ability to create the competition, and the banks know that. The larger companies and I know that. Okay, and it's just a disaster. Let's go into the book.
Can I tell you something quick about that?
Yeah.
So I was talking to another progressive friend who's also a successful businessman, and he cares an enormous about the climate and about getting things right, etc. And he said, you know, what's interesting is that regulations, of course, we think on the left are necessary to make sure we don't have monopolies, make sure you don't have dog crap in your food and all that stuff. But sometimes overregulation can be done by giant corporations to help them kill off their competition.
No question. They like it. The banks snicker at the regulation. They'll go on television and say, oh, we're for deregulation, and they're laughing. Put more regulation on the burner, you know.